Feel like I've seen this movie before. You seen this movie before? What's up, everybody? Not sure if anybody's here yet, but this is Answers by Guests, Answers with Guests, and I'm Guests. And this is episode 3, week 1.5, Answers with Guests, halftime adjustments. Talk about the week that was, but we've already talked about this week before. We talked about this week last year. Week 1, very similar to week 1, 2023. I've got a little bit to go through tonight. I gotta switch my background around. You know, when Rob's not here, I don't have this thing all together. But I think that if I went with this, that probably looks a little better. Not bad. So let's get right into it. This is not a rerun. Yes, we've seen this before, but it's not a rerun. And I have a feeling, just a thought that sort of went through my mind today as I was getting ready for this show. This is like preseason week 4 now. We have tons of studs that did nothing week 1, and it's very similar to last year. And when they don't really play at all throughout the preseason, and this is their dress rehearsal, so to speak. So we know not to overreact. I would imagine that things will adjust next week. One particular thought that came to mind was if the majority of your teams, or any of your teams, me for instance, 5 leagues, I've talked about it, and the ones that I thought for sure I was going to win, I lost. The ones I thought for sure I was going to lose, I won. The guys that were supposed to do good did not do good. And there was a bunch of guys that nobody was expecting to do anything that did really well. If you got wins this week, you feel good about it. You feel lucky. If you did not, what you should not feel is terrible. You should not feel like it's a wasted season. We talked about it on Sunday morning when Rob was over here and we did the show together side by side. Do not overreact. One of the worst things you could do at any week in the season, but week 1 in particular. We're getting ready tonight to put in our waiver claims. If you haven't already done so, you need to be sure you're choosing wisely. Don't be dropping somebody just because they didn't do something week 1. If that was as easy as it was, we would not have built 8 years of this talking about ebbs and flows. They're coming. Things will adjust this week. Marvin Harrison Jr. in particular. I could almost guarantee, and we'll see if this happens on Sunday, I'm going to say the first play of the game, they target him. They throw him a pass. He caught, I believe, 1 ball. And, it was windy in Buffalo, so a lot of things go into that. But teams are going to do a very similar sort of thing. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave, Eric Ingram. Tons of guys that we had and thought they would do well, did not do well. These guys will be just fine. So when you are wanting to rush out and grab Allen Lazard and Justice Hill, and if J.K. Dobbins is out there, choose wisely who you're getting rid of. We can't just box score watch. We talk about this year in and year out. Don't forget about the rookie running backs. I mean, the list is huge. A couple of them did okay this week. A couple of them didn't even play. But one of them is going to play Thursday night. because Mr. Achan has a high ankle sprain, and Mostert's banged up, and Jalen Wright was inactive, healthy inactive. Guarantee we see him Thursday night. So while we're all rushing out to get these wide receivers, and you'll see when we get into five guys for your eyes, it's pretty much wide receivers. The cat out of the bag a little. But when we run out and we want to go get these wide receivers, don't neglect these running backs. Don't be so quick to drop Tyrone Tracy. Don't be so quick to drop Kimani Vidal because J.K. Dobbins had a good week. We've seen J.K. Dobbins. He's made of glass. Sooner or later, he's going to go down. And you'll be like, man, I drafted Kimani Vidal, and I dropped him after week one. He was inactive, or he didn't do anything. I mean, there's a whole list. Bucky Irving got a ton of burn. He looked a lot better than Rachaad White. Rachaad White wasn't very productive even last year. He just had a ton of opportunities, and that helped his draft stock go up. So these rookie running backs, if you're sitting on them and you are like, I have to get Allen Lazard. I have to get Demarcus Robinson because Puka's hurt. Don't be so quick to neglect the rookie running backs that did nothing this week, because sooner or later you're going to wish that you had them on your team. We know how this goes. So this is Answers with Guests. This is week 1.5. We're adjusting based on what we've seen. The Giants wasn't good, but they do have Washington this week. It was funny. We have an ABG Leaks. We have an ABG chat. Mr. Darko Murphy put something out about, I don't know what he was trying to elicit or if he was just showing off his knowledge, whatever, so be it. But I'm wondering if some people looked at it and was like, you're crazy. Daniel Jones, Wan'Dale Robinson, you're playing them this week. It's not such a bad idea. The Commanders have a terrible pass defense. Yeah, it's only 1 week. But it's the truth. Just looking at personnel, past history, coaching. So we'll see. Daniel Jones, Wan'Dale Robinson, Mr. Neighbors is hurt. He was the top wide receiver, but the most targeted was Mr. Wandale. It's not a bad idea, Darko. So don't kill off your Giants just yet. The team looks bad. He was being booed, probably rightly so. It's week 1. He probably will be all right. Stroud 1, sophomore slump 0. I talked about it on Sunday. I said I sort of feel like there might be some sort of sophomore slump coming. Not yet. Not so far. Prove me wrong. I'd be happy. I'm a CJ Stroud fan. Looked good. Spread the ball around. Stephon Diggs didn't throw the ball deep to him, but he scored a couple times. Looks like he fits right in. It's good to see. ABG 2023 call. I talked about it at the end of the season last year. I said that Chicago Bears defense, again, only 1 week. I'm not overreacting. I was sitting next to Rob, and he's like, I really need a Bears defensive touchdown. A couple minutes later, it's like, I feel like they're going to get one. A couple minutes later, they got one. And then they got another one. Yeah, they were playing against the Titans, and Will Levis did not play well at all. But I think they're going to be one of the top 5 defenses, if not top 3. And I said that last year at the end of the year. We saw it. It was happening. And there's another team coming up that I think might fit the bill. They were a little overlooked this year. We'll see. Bryce Young improvement 0. Bryce Young suckiness 1. Thought he would improve. He looked bad. Very, very bad. Mingo looked pretty good, though. He didn't get his weapons involved. I like, they're using Miles Sanders. The coaches said they were going to do that, and they did that. So nice to see. Not good for Chuba owners. And when week 5 rolls around, Jonathan Brooks is coming to town. So we'll see. But he did not look good at all. It was rather terrible. I think the only thing that looked worse than Daniel Jones and Bryce Young was Malik Willis's 2 plays. So as a Packer fan, this should be interesting to see. I'm a big Willis faithful. I think he'll be all right. I hope he'll be all right, but he couldn't even get a pass off. So we'll see. Yeah. Yeah. Throw the ball more than 5 yards accurately. That's all we want. That's all we need. Now he's got another allegation. Nothing's probably going to happen this year. Stud wide receivers will be fine. Just to recap, rookie running backs will be fine. And week 2 will be here soon enough, as early as Thursday begins. Those are ebbs and flows. We're right there on the left. We're down. It's going to bounce back. It's going to bounce back. We know it. We've seen this over and over. 5 guys for your eyes. Let's get into it. A couple guys over there in the top right that did pretty well. We had those as 5 guys for your eyes in the preseason. Jaden Daniels, George Pickens, Mr. Mingo, Bucky Irving, Charbonnet. Kenneth Walker's banged up, so let's see where that goes. Mr. Jennings, likely, McLaughlin, and Tank Bixby. Just a couple of the ones that I'm highlighting. Well, let's get into the 1.5s. There's that defense I was talking about. They looked good. Mr. Harbaugh has them playing very well. They always had the talent to do it. It was a good matchup, but they also have a good matchup this week. So if you're thinking about it, if you need a defense, the Charger defense might be a good one for you this week and possibly as the year goes on. If they continue to allow that offense to play well, something they can't do without Justin Herbert. So as long as he stays healthy, I think that defense is going to surprise this year and be top 10. Michael Penix. I should have changed this to 1.5. Look, I did it here and I did not do it here, but this is week 1.5. I'm not going to waste your time. Kirk Cousins doesn't look like he can push off his ankle. I think it's not too long before Michael Penix Jr. becomes the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. So if you're in a super flex, or if you're a Jordan Love owner, or you drafted Deshaun Watson and you're looking for something in the future and you have large benches, he's probably worth a stash now. Because if they lose again and again, it's going to be pretty quick, the Michael Penix show in Atlanta. Once again, should have changed it. Devon Vele. Hopefully pronouncing it right. Wide receiver, Denver Broncos. Rookie. I overlooked him. Thought it would be more Mims. But Nix likes his rookie connection. And it makes sense. He's worth a stab. Jalen McMillan. Rookie wide receiver. Tampa Bay Bucks. Baker looked good. McMillan looks real good. If you're just looking at box scores, you don't notice it as much, but he looks really, really good. And he's somebody I feel like as the season goes on, we've seen Godwin break down. We've seen Evans break down, not as bad as Godwin. And having a third wide receiver on the team because Trey Palmer is injured, I think Jalen McMillan could be that dude for the Bucks. And if Baker keeps playing how I love Baker be playing, he's going to be a name that about 4 or 5 weeks from now, ESPN's going to be having him as a guy you should pick up. And number 1, Mr. Jordan Whittington. I mentioned him Sunday morning. Rob sort of looked at me like, who the hell are you talking about? Everybody's going to rush out and grab Demarcus Robinson. And in the short term, he's the correct answer. Whittington scored a touchdown. It was called back. So if you're only box score watch, you don't notice it. He's like Puka Nacua 2.0. And with Puka being out, he's going to slide in that role. Demarcus Robinson will probably remain the 3 because that's where he's best suited. So it's a name that you need to know. Again, these should all say 1.5, but I was busy at work when I was putting this together this morning. So forgive me for that. Thursday Night Football, we'll talk about it real quick. Right over here, I have some rookies. The one on the top is the one you're going to want to know. Jalen Wright because I think he's going to be the starting running back Thursday night. Maybe Mostert plays. I don't think Achane plays. And we're going to see Jalen Wright rushing against Buffalo, who does not have a very good rush defense. And we just may have another rerun of 2023 where people fell in love with Devon Achane after I gave you Achane's name. I've been saying Jalen Wright since the end of June, early July. If you were watching the Five Guys for Your Eyes divisional previews, I'm giving you his name one more time. This might be the last chance. This is the time where you want to grab him tonight if you're in need of running backs. Doesn't matter, he's got two guys in front of him. If you need somebody this week, that's who you pick up. The other guys are Keon Coleman and Mr. Ray Davis. Just another rookie running back that we can not forget about. They're going to be huge. You know how this goes. October ends, November rolls around, everybody's scrambling for running backs. There is a list of 8 to 10 rookie running backs who could be starters, not on fantasy teams, on NFL teams. So do not neglect these guys this week when everybody's out there going after the guys that did good last week. Continue to gobble up, hold, and wait, especially if you have starters more viable than them at this very moment, which you should. If you're just joining us for the first time or the inside scoop from the outside the box, if you want to hear somebody telling you to pick up J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill, Alan Lazard, all these guys that box score won last week, then go there. I'm going to give you guys that are going to be box score winners in the weeks to come. And those of you that have been with us for 7+ years know that. Questions from the group. Michael asks, Stafford, Baker, or Geno is my backup. I mean, I think Stafford is probably the safest. Granted, Baker had the best game out of all of them last week. There's no way I'm touching Geno at all. I mean, I'm just not. He had a nice run. And the year that he won comeback player and he had a really good season in 2022, he was running. And last year he wasn't. And he had a nice, I think, 30+ yards on Sunday. But I think Baker's playing with a purpose. He's playing really well. He may very well have the best weapons on this list. But Stafford has the pedigree. With Puka being out, there's Whittington and D-Rob. And Cup. But I think I personally would go Baker. I think Stafford might be slightly, but they're like 51-49. Like you go with your gut with those two. Me personally, I'm going to pick up Baker because I've had a man crush on him since first time I saw him in Oklahoma. So it is what it is. I'm not touching Geno. Get who you can get. Put in a waiver claim for both. Darren asked, Dell or Keenan Allen flex this week? Leaning Dell. We loved Allen's targets. Have to see how the Bears look moving forward. You know how I roll. I'm focused on the Thursday night game and focused on waiver. So I'm not going to lie and act like I know. I don't know the matchups for this week for these two guys. I'll know them when we do the show Saturday night, Sunday morning. I have not analyzed these. I haven't even gone through and watched last week's games. You all know that I go back and I rewatch the fast pace so I could see every single play that goes. Okay, so they're playing against each other. Perfect. That's easy. It's in Houston. I like that Bears defense. Talked about it. Let's go with Dell. I think you get a little bit more upside with Dell. I think you're going to see Swift have a little bit of a bounce back. They're going to look to get him more involved the way I thought they would last week. I'll go Dell. It seems to be where your gut is. If you want, ask it again Saturday night or Sunday morning when we do the weekly show. Would you pick up Theo Johnson and drop Sanat? Likely is your other one. Yeah, see, listen, Likely is going to be another one. I sort of talked about it Sunday morning when Rob was here. And he's another one. He's probably, anybody who gets paid to do this, the pros, they're all obviously saying, pick up Isaiah Likely. Duh, a week late. We told you that in the beginning of the season. Andrews going to get healthier. I think he's a buy now. I'm not big on Andrews. I wasn't going into this offseason or even last season. But he's not going anywhere. They will use both together. They'll run a ton of 12 personnel. Also, they don't play against the Chiefs every single week. So they're not going to have to throw as much as they did last week to sort of keep pace. They want to be a pound the rock with Derrick Henry and some Lamar runs mixed in. So the passing that we saw, I think, will be dialed back as we go. Mark Andrews will be more involved when they do pass. So you're looking at, if these are your best two options, I mean, you're probably going to run likely out there this week over either of them. I don't think S.8 goes. We talked about it last week, a week ago today, or a week ago last Wednesday, and also sort of Sunday. I mean, until Ertz goes down. And to be honest, the way it looked in Washington, Mr. Daniels, is the ball's not going to be thrown quite a bit. It's going to be a lot of runs with Robinson and Daniels, and they're going against each other this week. And I think if you pick up Theo Johnson this week, you'll have somebody on your team who could actually do something this week. And if nothing else, you could bargain him to maybe get somebody who's a little more steady. So I would pick up Theo and drop Ben S.8 for sure. Michael asks again, two-parter, Josh Downs or Alec Pierce for the rest of the season. That's another name, Alec Pierce. I guarantee, I don't look, but you all tell me. I'll get to the comments in a minute. Haven't even clicked them on. I guarantee the number one wide receiver that they're saying to pick up is Alec Pierce. Fantasy Pro, CBS, ESPN, Yahoo, waiver wire pickups. Alec Pierce. Yeah. Anthony Richardson loves Alec Pierce. That went over our heads. Shame on me, shame on Rob, because we saw that in the beginning of last year when Richardson was around. He's a fine pickup. I would pick him up way before Josh Downs, but I'm telling you right now, and I've been telling you, Adonai Mitchell is the guy to own for the Colts. He was burning people. That game was on. Rob and I were watching the Red Zone, and it was showing that game quite often, I think, because it was exciting, the two teams that were playing. A lot of big plays. Mitchell was flying down the field wide open. Richardson just wasn't throwing it to him. I think he's the one to own. You need somebody now, Alec Pierce. I'm not going to touch Josh Downs. He had a good couple early games of the year, with Richardson, and then it just sort of fell apart for him. He's banged up right now. Mitchell's number one for me. Pierce, if I have to choose from these two. And Terry McLaurin, is that workload we saw in week one going to be the trend? And will he get going under Daniels? They weren't throwing much, and I thought they would throw some more. I had a feeling that Baker would do what Baker did. And I thought that they would need to push it just a little bit more going against him. I don't know. They're going against the Giants. If the Giants pass all over them and do well on offense, this is going to be a back and forth, high-scoring game. Analyze it probably after the Thursday night game, so I have an idea ready for our weekend show. But week one is not a trend. Week one's not a trend. Not in this scenario, not in any. It really isn't. If anything, it's an outlier. He didn't throw the ball too much downfield. He was check, throw, run, check, throw, run. Rushed in 2 touchdowns. Brian Robinson was doing okay. He was getting Eckler and Robinson both involved in the passing game. They're going to play against teams where they're going to have to evolve into passing. I don't know if that's this week against the Giants. A lot's going to depend on what Darko thinks and what I think, that the Giants offense will be able to look at least like a football team this week. And if that happens, they're going to get him more involved. But week one's not a trend, and not here, not anywhere. Antonio, hello, friends. How are you? Good. Look fine. Thanks. Yes, Love and Purdy. Should I go for Mayfield and drop Purdy? I don't think so. I mean, Love's going to be out for 4 weeks. You got anybody else you could drop? Can you wait until Love is declared out? They're not putting him on IR. Can you wait and then put him on IR? I would like to have Mayfield and Purdy, but I'm not going to drop Purdy to pick up Mayfield. I feel like it's lateral at best. And when McCaffrey comes back, I think that makes Purdy better. Yeah, it doesn't matter what running back they put in. We saw it with Jordan Mason. And listen, Guerrero Isaac, am I pronouncing it correct? If he ever gets a chance, he's a speedy little monster. So that's a check down from Purdy. And a lot of the runs that Jordan Mason had where he was pounding right through, we all watched it. I feel like Guru Rendo would have went to the house because he's so much faster than Mason. But regardless, I'm not going to drop Purdy to pick up Mayfield. I think that you're just, it's 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. If you can get both, that's a good idea. Very hard to see. I can't see it. He's in a pickle. Should he accept the trade? It's an 8-man league. What's your thoughts? My roster's posted along with it. You all can probably see it better than me. I'm going to click off real quick so that I can see and give a good idea. Because I could see these if I just go to it. So that's what I'll do. Screw it. Let's see here. So I'm looking at his roster. He's got Hurts, Breece Hall, Rashad White, Justin Jefferson, Rashee Rice, Evan Ingram, Connor, Fairbairn. See what else he's got. He's got a bench here. Keon Coleman, Cooper. He's got a really solid team. Yeah, 8-man league. And the trade that he wants to do is Pittman, Lamb, and Williams. He wants to get them and give up Anthony Richardson, Rice, and Breece Hall. I think you'd have a huge downgrade if you went with Breece Hall, Kyron Williams over Breece Hall. You're upgrading, but I think a little more on name value when you're taking Lamb over Rice. Lamb and rice together, by the way, is absolutely delicious. I get it from this place in Middletown. Lamb over rice and salad. You get it with the white sauce and the hot sauce. Absolutely unbelievable. Pittman, I like. You're giving up Anthony Richardson. When I go back and I look, he's got Hurts. And if I continue to look on his bench, I don't see any other quarterback. So, other than Richardson, I think I would just sit. Randy. I'm just going to sit. I'm not giving up Breece Hall, Anthony Richardson, and Rashee Rice. I'm not. Oh. We already saw this question. Look at me. Put it on there twice. Jeremy wants to know, is a Puka owner D-Rob or Lazard? So here we go. Pretty much like I said. Forgot I actually typed this one. If you want somebody right now, I'm going to go with D-Rob. I think Mike Williams is going to get more involved next week. I don't care much for him at this point in his career. But I think D-Rob is probably a little better for now. But check out the 5 guys for your eyes, because I gave you some other guys that I would rather have. You more than likely have somebody on your bench. And this is for anybody that is a Puka owner and they're wondering about these 2 guys or Alec Pierce, because those are the 3 ones that all the pros, all the people that get paid to do this are going to give you. D-Rob, Lazard, Alec Pierce, pick them up, blah, blah, blah. Watch the stat box. You probably have somebody better on your bench to start this week than those three. And I'd rather grab somebody who I could stash and probably have a better asset 4 weeks from now than those guys. So hopefully that helps. We have comments from the group. I can add these in if I remove this and put my fat head back on the screen. Here I am. Let's see. Oh, Sway, he has Kyron, Zamir, Javante, Gus. Would you put in a claim for Jeff Wilson? No, absolutely not. I put in a claim for Jalen Wright. It's another one. It's another one. Oh, Sway, it's another one. Again, I haven't looked. I'm guessing. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I'm guessing. If I were to go to Yahoo or ESPN or one of these places and I type in waiver wire pickups, they probably are saying Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson had X amount of carries. I don't care. I don't care. You know who had 0 carries? Jalen Wright. You know why? He was a healthy and active. You know why? They didn't want him getting messed up. They figured the other two might. The other two did. Wright's rostered. I just seen Wright. I still want to do it. Listen, Zamir White is Zamir White. That's another one. Madison. I'm not falling for the trap. The one thing Madison has going for him is the Raiders don't look very good. So they'll probably be behind in quite a lot of games. And he's their passing down back. They mixed him in early because White wasn't doing anything. It's 1 week. These 4 guys, I'm not dropping any of these 4 guys. Gus Edwards didn't look good. Dobbins did. We've seen what happens with Dobbins in the past. Javante didn't look great. Jaleel even didn't look great. I'd love to know who else you got on the waiver wire. I'm not putting in a claim for Jeff Wilson. I'm willing to bet that everybody else on your bench who you might be willing to drop for him is probably more worth having. But I'd like to see who's there. So if you can post your waiver wire, I'll try and take a peek tonight. All right. Going up the list, Michael asked, DeAndre Hopkins washed. I kind of thought he was washed a couple of years ago, but I don't think so. Levis didn't play a very good game, and they're going against a defense that I think is, and I thought would be top 5, if not top 3 in the league this year. Give him time. I'm not going to overreact. You drafted him. You must have liked him. He's fine. Wide receiver 3, flex play. Might be matchup based. If there's somebody better out there and you want to get the stink off of you, I understand. But he's got name value. So I'm not going to drop him because I could probably trade him even if I paired him with somebody else and got somebody who I think has some more value. He's going to be fine. The whole offense kind of stunk for them other than Pollard. I mean, Chig scored a touchdown. Ridley is whatever. It was not a good game. Levis did not play well at all. Don't overreact. Keep him on your team. He's not worth dropping. I mean, it was the second slide I had on my little cheapy elementary PowerPoint. It's the best we can do here for free. Don't overreact and be careful. Be careful. Think about who you're dropping. Don't just drop somebody because of reasons like this. Do I have him on any of my teams? No, I didn't want him. But chances are he's better off on your bench or in a trade than being put back onto the waiver wire because there might be a time where you need to put him in your lineup based on bye weeks, injuries, or like I said, somebody else probably wants him. Maybe wait for one good game. Keith says he knows early, but would you start Reed with Willis at QB or Tank Dell? Why am I not able to think who Reed is? Keith, if you're still watching, can anybody help me with this? Who's Reed? I don't know who it is. Um, oh, Jaden Reed. Duh. Okay, I'm an idiot. It's time for me to go to bed. Yeah, but I would go with Tank. If yeah, Jalen Reed. Yep. I would go with Tank. If that's your gut feeling, listen, they have so many wide receivers in Green Bay. Reed had his touchdowns. It was fluky. It was fluky, just like Xavier Worthy's 2 touchdowns. Fluky. That's not going to happen every week. And Willis at QB is going to be a lot tougher for him than Love at QB. So you go with Tank Down. You go with Tank Down. And I'm looking up here. This one question. Yeah, I would do that. Yeah, I would have drafted Tank Bigsby or picked up Tank Bigsby. He was higher on our list than Mr. Carson Steele. But you know what's going to happen this week? Carson Steele is going to actually get that ball at the 1 yard line. He's going to be on ESPN's list. I mean, it's just the way it goes here. We're always a step ahead, a week ahead. Lost Ferguson for now. You have Taysom Hill. Do I use him this week? Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, you do. And then if you don't want to use Taysom Hill when it comes down to Saturday night, Sunday morning, and you know, if Ferguson's out or Mostert didn't play Thursday, and you could put him into the IR, or if Adunze goes out, then you pick up another tight end. But if you don't really have anybody to drop, just roll with Taysom Hill. This week, I believe it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them. It was pretty easy last week going against Carolina. So we'll see how they do this week. They might actually need to use him a little bit more. So I would, just skip to the next one. But I would use Taysom Hill as of right now until we learn more. If we can move somebody to the IR, if they go out, maybe it'll happen as early as Thursday. If Miami was smart, you would keep Achane and Mostert out and just use Wright and Jeff Wilson. We might as well against Buffalo. And on the short week, get them healthy, go into week 3 with your top 2 guys back, or at least Mostert back. Because right now, I think Mostert has a better chance to play than Achane. Would not surprise me if both are out. I definitely think Achane's going to be out with a high ankle. And you're going to see Jalen Wright this week. You are not too late for your question. Your question was answered. I could try and sort of look back for it, but it was answered. You can always look back and see. Let me see. You have Love and Purdy. Should you go for Mayfield and drop Purdy? I said no, mostly because they're pretty much equals. Purdy will be even better once CMC gets healthy. That might be week 3. Baker had a really good matchup going against the Washington secondary. He exploited it. I'm rooting for Baker. You know how I roll. But I think those two are right there equal with each other. I would like to have both. So my question to you, Antonio, was, is there anybody else you could drop? Because you can't put Love on IR until he's actually out, if you are even allowed an IR spot in your league. But is there anybody else you could drop to pick up Baker tonight, just in case? Because I would like to have both, because Love is going to be back week 5, probably at the earliest. So it'd be nice to have Baker and Purdy and go from there and make our quarterback decision. I don't want to drop Purdy, be stuck, for lack of a better term, with Baker when it's possible that Purdy has a better matchup any particular week. So I'd like to have both. I'm not against having 2 quarterbacks, especially if they're 2 quarterbacks that are in that 10 to 15 type of range like those guys. Similar situation for me, kind of with Reed. I benched him for Jameson Williams. It's not bad. Jamie had a good week. We thought that would sort of be coming. And there you go. Here we go. Somebody else asked about this before, Antonio. Look at Michael asked, is DeAndre Hopkins washed? Is he roster worthy? Maybe bench at least. And I said, I'm not going to drop him. I would rather try and trade him. But to get a second quarterback so you could play matchups, I would be okay dropping DeAndre Hopkins because he's on your bench. And you probably have 3 solid wide receivers to get you through that. So sorry to cut you off, Michael, but yeah. So that was a good move. Might as well just keep rolling with J-Mo. What are your thoughts on Parkinson? Is he an upgrade over Hunter Henry and Conklin? Yeah, we talked about him Sunday morning. I'm not sure if you were watching when Rob was over here and we were doing the Sunday morning show. Colby Parkinson was a big name. A lot of the pros were putting out there as a tight end sleeper type of dude. I still think I would rather use Hunter Henry, to be honest. I'm not big on Conklin. With Puka out, you might have a good idea there. I still think I'd rather use Hunter Henry, but I would rather have him over Conklin. So that's a good enough answer for me. If it is for you, I'd rather have Parkinson than Conklin. Yes. A-Rod just doesn't, I mean, he's never really liked the tight ends. We thought he would throw to him more. He didn't look great, but again, his first game back as well. At least he looked a little more mobile. Granted, the injury was longer ago than Kirk Cousins was, but Cousins just looks like he can't push off his leg at all, which is why I think Michael Penix is going to be the quarterback probably around week 4 or 5. Another league, Ferg hurt. Would you drop Dulcich for Theo? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would do that. I would. There's more upside in Theo, I feel like, at this point, than Dulcich. Oh, don't see any other questions. Throw this up here. It's season 8. This is episode 3, week 1.5. Rob and I have not yet decided, but we'll be sure to let everybody know. There'll be posts, as there typically are, if we're going to be live Saturday night or Sunday morning. Probably going to wind up being Saturday night this week. We sort of like the night shows. We feel like more people are awake and able to sort of sit and zone into their phones or tablets or computer screens, and that's what we want, is participation. So we're probably going to do Saturday night. We'll do our week 2 show. So it'll be episode 4, so hopefully you could join us for that. We'll have full analysis on every single game. Got a couple more questions. Jamal Williams looks to be in timeshare. Most doesn't go. It's got to be Williams or Bucky Irving. Yeah, we talked about that on the first episode. We talked about that in the second episode. Jaleel McLaughlin was a name that I was telling you. I mean, Darren Sproles. That's Sean Payton wants to turn him into Darren Sproles, Alvin Kamara. He wants him to be that guy. So he's going to be in a timeshare with him. And sooner or later, Mr. Estime is going to get more and more involved because, again, we can't forget about these rookie running backs. And they're going against Pittsburgh this week. And I'm just looking real quick. And Tampa Bay is going against the Lions. Bucky was involved. I'd probably play Bucky Irving, to be honest. I probably would play Bucky Irving. I know the Broncos are going to be at home. That might lean me a little more towards Javonte. It's too soon. Scott, this is a Saturday night question. My general thoughts on Mr. Javonte, I think anybody that's been here could answer that question. I love the guy. If it wasn't for that catastrophic leg injury, if it wasn't for the catastrophic coaching that they had 3 years ago. He would be he'd have been a first to second rounder, I think, at this point. Last year was a wash with him coming back from that. Peyton's got his little pet in McLaughlin, and that's fine. I like McLaughlin as well. I think Javonte is a fine hold. I think Denver has some issues. They're working out with a rookie quarterback. They're going to have some bumps in the road. It was 1 week. Like, I think that question with you and Javonte or Bucky is probably as close to an even as you could get right now. And it shouldn't be that way. 4 weeks from now, Bucky might be more valuable than Javonte. I feel like you having both on your bench is a perfect spot to be in, because I do think that the Bucks are going to quickly realize that he is going to be a lot more productive than Rashad White, like I mentioned over the summer in the end of June when we had him on Five Guys for Your Eyes. Rashad White he had a ton of carries, did not get many yards on those carries, just had a ton of volume. He had a ton of volume this week, and Bucky Irving sort of equaled his output, looked better. Javonte's got to deal with McLaughlin. A lot of it's going to deal with game script. I think games at home are going to help Javonte. So that's why this week could be, but Pittsburgh defense is real still. They're real still. So right now, slight lean to Bucky Irving. If you want, ask it again on Saturday night. And that's what you're thinking. That's kind of where I'm at. I like both the guys. I have both on a lot of teams, and I'm fine having that. Running back depth is going to be huge. One of the first slides. Don't forget about the rookie running backs. Ladies and gentlemen, no more questions. I don't see. If they pop up before I sign off, then I will answer them. I did tell a couple people, don't remember exactly. Sorry. Post some waiver wires in the room. It's waiver wire night. Make your decisions carefully. Don't be hasty, and dump some guys who you liked a week ago because they didn't do something for you after 1 week. One of the biggest mistakes people make. We talked about it the opposite way. It's crazy because on Saturday's show or Sunday's show and last week's show and last year as well, after the very same thing, and you know who it was? Points. Listen, I'm going to give away a shirt. All right? I'm going to give away a shirt. Rob will get mad at me for this, but I will give away a t-shirt. Does anybody remember the player last year after week 1 who I said, this guy's going to get dropped tonight in multiple leagues? You need to pick him up. He went on to have 2 or 3 very solid games, a huge game week 2. You have 2 minutes. If you remember the player's name, you type it in the chat. I will send you a shirt for free. If you don't, that's okay. But I'll give 2 minutes. But we talked about it last Wednesday. We talked about it, not Achan. Achan was somebody who we said you need to go grab. We said that in the preseason and after week 1. And then he blew up, I think it was week 2 or 3. We talked about it last Wednesday. We talked about it Sunday morning. We said people are going to overreact. They are going to drop players that they should have no business dropping. I'm in most of my leagues, I'm not even putting in waiver claims. I'm far down the list. I'm just going to move up that list because I know that someone is going to get dropped that probably is more valuable than anybody I would waste a waiver priority on right now. There's guys out there that aren't wastes, but I know someone better's coming. And then 1 more minute. There's only 5 people watching. 5 people probably don't remember, but this player, people had big hopes for him. Week 1 did absolutely nothing. And I came on Answers with guess, week 1.5, halftime adjustments. I said, this guy is going to get dropped. You need to pick him up. His name was DeAndre Swift. He went out and he balled out week 2. He had some pretty good weeks after that. Didn't quite have the season that we hoped, but he won a few people leagues, probably by playoff position, by getting them wins. He definitely won a lot of people week 2, and a lot of people lost week 2 because they dropped him. There's going to be guys like that had a terrible week 1 that are going to be fine throughout the rest of the year. So that is my final piece of advice for the night. If there's nobody out there, I'll go all the way back to it. Let's see if I can go back to it, just so you could see. I think this is what it was. This is what it was. I added to the stage. Choose wisely. Like, that's the best piece of advice I can give after 1 week. Choose wisely. Do you have to have that shiny new piece? And I hope that shiny new piece that you have to have isn't someone that one of the pros are telling you to get. Do you have to have it? Or would you rather just wait on that guy that you have? Just choose wisely. I can't answer every question. I try my best to. I don't know all the answers, but I'm trying to help. And the best advice I can give is, when you're putting in the waiver claims tonight, think about it. Is it going to make you happier to have this guy who had a good week 1 on your bench, or maybe in your starting lineup, or the guy that you drafted blow up week 2 on somebody else's team? So there's guys out there to have. You have to make moves, but just choose wisely. I love you all. I hope to see you all Saturday night. I wish you the best of luck. Jalen Wright Thursday night, and don't forget about if they run out Malik Washington, that would be nice. But I think he's still banged up with that hamstring. But I'm looking at the rookies: Keon Coleman, Jalen Wright, and Ray Davis. I'm looking at 3 rookies on Thursday night. 3 guys that are fresh. 3 guys on a short week, divisional game. 3 guys that people are a little bit down on after the draft cycle. They're going to pop, and we'll see. And I'll see you. Thank you all. Answers with guests.